We're going to talk about how the International Space Station, the ISS, measures up to the most expensive things ever built, what makes it cool, and the idea for privatizing the station instead of it going to waste in 2024. When you have stuff that you don't want anymore and would feel bad throwing away, you take it to Goodwill. Well, the governments of the International Space Station don't want to pay for the station anymore. I wonder if Goodwill accepts space station modules. Welcome to NeoScribe, research in the future for you, so you don't have to. What is the most expensive single object ever built? Let's take a quick look at some of the most expensive objects ever built and how the ISS stacks up against them. Could the tallest building in the world be the most expensive object ever built? The tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It took more than 110,000 tons of concrete, 55,000 tons of steel, and 22 million man-hours to complete the skyscraper. The Burj Khalifa is 2,722 feet tall. That is 1,268 feet taller than the Empire State Building. It has a floor space of 3,331,000 square feet. That's 1,200 times the average square home footage of the United States. Outside the building, there is a fountain system with 6,600 lights, 50 colored projectors, and it can shoot water 50 feet into the air. That fountain alone costs $217 million. The total cost of the Burj Khalifa was $1.5 billion, but it is not the most expensive object ever built by far. The second object is the baddest ship in the ocean, the United States Ford-class supercarrier. The Ford-class is the newest class of supercarrier. Set to replace the Nimitz-class carrier, the Ford-class measures a whopping 1,106 feet in length. That's a full 100 feet longer than the Nimitz-class carrier. The Ford-class is fitted with the latest technology along with two RIM-162 ESSM launchers, two RIM-116 RAM launchers, 3 Vulcan cannons, and 4 M2 50 caliber machine guns. Now look at this. Look at the carrier do a high-speed turn. Did you think an aircraft carrier could drift? What's most impressive is its aircraft capacity. The Ford-class supercarrier is capable of carrying more than 75 fighter jets. That is enough space to fit all of Sweden's Air Force fighters. So each carrier is a floating air force. The United States plans to build 10 of these carriers, each one costing $10.4 billion. That's about the total of Armenia's total GDP. But the Ford-class supercarrier is not the most expensive object ever built. If you're enjoying your journey so far, don't forget to leave a like. Back to the video. The third object was named one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, the Itaipu Dam. The Itaipu Dam is so big, it makes the Hoover Dam look like a popsicle stick. The Itaipu is not as tall as the Hoover Dam, but it is 20 times wider at 25,981 feet and produces 6 times the energy. It is located on the border of Brazil and Paraguay, and it was completed in 1984 and expanded in 2007. It took 40,000 workers and 7 years to build, and sadly, 149 workers died during construction. The Itaipu is made up of 403.5 million feet of concrete and has enough steel in it to build 380 Eiffel Towers. The Itaipu Dam costs a staggering $27 billion to build. That's enough money to build 18 Burj Khalifa skyscrapers. But the Itaipu Dam is still not the most expensive object ever built. The most expensive object ever built, you guessed it, is the International Space Station, the ISS. The ISS is the largest man-made object ever put in space. It is 239 feet long and 356 feet wide. It is so big that it can be seen by the naked eye. 16 countries were involved in its construction: the United States, Russia, Canada, Japan, Belgium, Brazil, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. The ISS is a technological wonder with 6 laboratory modules, 8 miles of wires, and its 52 computers outnumber the astronauts 8-1. It's hard to believe, but the ISS has been occupied for almost 17 years. The ISS has allowed for the longest continuous stretch of time with mankind in space. The ISS cost a mind-blowing $150 billion to construct. That is enough money to build 5 Itaipu Dams, 15 Ford-class supercarriers, 100 Burj Khalifa skyscrapers. And it's enough money to buy every person in the world 3 fidget spinners. But seriously, that's a lot of money. And I think in 2024, it will be decommissioned. That's only 26 years of service for something that costs so much. Right now, NASA spends around $3.5 billion on the ISS program. $1.7 billion goes to transporting crews and cargo, $700 million on research, and $1 billion on operations. Other countries contribute about $1 billion collectively. But NASA wants to set their sights on manned spaceflight missions beyond Earth orbit, such as the moon and going back to Mars, and all the money going to the International Space Station takes away from these manned missions. So right now, the ISS is only committed for funding up until 2024. But NASA and the international space community has options to keep the ISS working for research. One option is to hand the station to commercial entities. NASA already hinted at the idea when NASA Deputy Associate Administrator Bill Hill said, NASA is trying to develop economic development in low Earth orbit. Ultimately, our desire is to hand the space station over to either a commercial entity or some other commercial capability so that research can continue in low Earth orbit. So, NASA wants to move on to bigger and better things, especially what they spend their money on. NASA went on to say the International Space Station is a major component of our journey to Mars, and NASA is committed to the space station through at least 2024. As you know, NASA doesn't own the International Space Station. It is a partnership among several other space agencies around the world. As NASA advances the journey to Mars, its commercial partners will need to take the lead in low Earth orbit and building a space economy based not solely on government contracts, but on private sector supply and demand. So again, NASA wants private industry to take over matters of low Earth orbit, but they want to see a sustaining economy in low Earth orbit and not just based on government spending. So other than launching satellites, maintaining the ISS, transporting researchers and supplies to and from the ISS, and space tourism, I don't know what other opportunities there are for private industry in low Earth orbit. The space economy in low Earth orbit is a tiny tip of the iceberg in my eyes. The real game-changing economy is on the moon. The moon has over $500 quadrillion worth of resources, and there is a link to my video about the moon's resources in the description. The moon has been a very sought-out destination in the past 5 years, with Japan, China, Russia, and India all declaring to go to the moon at some point. And also with the ESA wanting to build a moon base, and with companies like Moon Express who wants to mine the moon. This is why the TechCrunch article titled "Save the International Space Station and Give It to the Private Sector" is onto something in my opinion. The article was written by Bob Brumley, who introduces the idea behind repurposing and redeploying the International Space Station from its current low Earth orbit to an orbit around the moon. Brumley goes on to write, "New space pioneers will need a safe harbor which would provide the stability of safety and security, particularly in times of trouble. The ISS could be such a safe harbor, orbiting around the moon and readily accessible from the lunar surface, providing security, stability, and a transition point between the Earth and the moon for bidirectional commerce, communications, and safety." So once there is a moon base and mining going on the moon, there will be all kinds of opportunities for private industry to take advantage of having the International Space Station orbiting around the moon. There is a lot more interesting parts in the TechCrunch article, so if you want to see more, it is the first link in the sources section of the description. So I think the idea of repurposing the International Space Station to be an outpost to space pioneers on the moon is a fantastic idea. But I want to hear from you. Do you think the ISS will be given to private industry? And also, do you think turning the ISS into a moon outpost is a good idea, or should it stay in low Earth orbit for research purposes? Comment below. I hope you enjoyed your journey. If you did, leave a like. And if you're interested in space exploration, artificial intelligence, and all things future, then join the NeoScribe tribe and subscribe. I am NeoScribe, and this is the end of our journey.